What will Earth look like in a billion years? Most of its surface would be covered by volcanoes? Or would it be frozen? What would happen if you traveled further? Would all the oceans evaporate? Or would it become a giant water world? And what about humans? Would there still be any humans left? Or have they colonized other parts of the galaxy? Let's face it, the chances of humans being there to greet you when you reach the future, a billion years from now, are pretty slim. So how do we have a chance to overcome the threats from climate change? Overpopulation, global nuclear war, asteroids and killer comets, natural ice ages, and the sun getting hotter. Welcome to Earth a billion years from now, a place where oceans are just a memory, and life as we know it has completely vanished. What happened? Let's travel back in time to the future right now. Earth is in danger, facing an extinction event like never before, more devastating than the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs, more dangerous than the volcanic eruptions that wiped out 96% of marine life and 70% of land species 252 million years ago. Instead, this great extinction of life on Earth will be staged by something we rely on. In fact, it is something we depend on. The culprit? None other than the sun, our source of life. As our star grows brighter over the next billion years, the delicate balance that has allowed our planet to thrive for billions of years will begin to break down. The oceans, atmosphere, and geological structures will change so dramatically that Earth will become completely unrecognizable. We're about to face a big problem called the millennium bug. In the year 10,000 AD, the calendar encoding software will no longer be able to handle dates with more than 4 decimal digits. Remember the Y2K incident? Well, it will be something like that. On the other hand, in 10,000 years, the genetic and physical differences between humans will no longer be regional. Traits like skin color and hair color will be evenly distributed across the world. Perhaps that will finally help us live in harmony with each other. No current language will be recognizable anymore. Future languages will only contain 1% of the vocabulary of today's languages. This will mark the beginning of a new ice age for Earth, the start of a new ice age. This is the story of the future picture of our blue planet. While the sun is predicted to be the ultimate cause of the end of life, the journey to that day is still filled with countless complex changes that I will guide you through. However, before we embark on this time travel, we need to agree on a few important points. First, this scenario assumes there is no human intervention. We will simply observe how natural laws unfold on their own, although the fate of humanity will still be discussed at the end. Furthermore, the future of Earth is not a book with a predetermined conclusion. Based on the foundations of planetary science, geology, and biochemistry, we can only outline the broadest possible scenarios that may unfold. Keep in mind that a billion years is an unbelievably long span of time. To put it into perspective, if we look back exactly 1 billion years ago, Earth was completely devoid of plants. The atmosphere had almost no oxygen, and all the continents were connected as a single landmass. A catastrophic scenario is silently unfolding beneath our feet, turning this planet into a strange and harsh wasteland. The current world map is merely a temporary illusion before being crushed by colossal tectonic pincers. The nightmare begins as the inland seas are completely erased. Africa is slowly shifting northward under suffocating pressure. This continent will collide with Europe and Arabia, directly crushing the Mediterranean Sea, the Red Sea, and the Persian Gulf between layers of rock. The seawater is either hurled away or evaporates, making way for brutal collisions. Where vast oceans once existed, a new mountain range will rise. These sharp peaks will pierce the troposphere, towering higher than Mount Everest, forming a deadly stone wall stretching from Spain to Asia. The terror spreads further as Australia hurtles northward. It will crush and grind the entire Indonesian and Philippine archipelagos, turning these regions into distorted mountain folds. Meanwhile, the Atlantic Ocean expands like an unhealable wound, pushing North America and Eurasia apart. To the west, the land strips of South and Baja California will be torn from their positions, drifting north to merge with Alaska. The majestic Rocky Mountains of today will be thoroughly eroded, turning into low, flat, barren lands. The most horrifying conclusion will converge 250 million years from now with the formation of the supercontinent Pangaea Proxima. All tectonic plates will be sucked into a common geological black hole. The Atlantic and Indian Oceans will disappear entirely. The continents of America, Eurasia, and Africa will be squeezed together into a single mass with no gaps. South America will bend, hugging the southern tip of Africa and Antarctica, trapping an inland sea within this deadly trap. The global ocean current system will be completely disrupted. The deep waters will deplete in oxygen, turning the oceans into a gigantic graveyard for all marine life. The unity of land will not bring peace, but doom for the climate. Pangaea Proxima will become a gigantic furnace. Due to being far from the water regulation, the entire interior of this supercontinent will be desertified on a massive scale. The temperature here will soar to 55 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt any hope of survival. Hot, dry winds will sweep away all traces of life, turning the continent into a true dead land. In the end, the living space for mammals will be squeezed to its maximum. All land creatures will be confined to small, harsh areas near the poles. This will be a brutal purge by nature, where life cannot intervene or escape. The New World Map will be a death sentence, written in the movement of rocks and extreme temperatures. Hit like and subscribe immediately if you don't want to miss the brutal truths about the future of this planet. Don't let yourself fall behind on the terrifying changes Earth is silently preparing. Join me as we continue to uncover the death sentences that the universe has already set for humanity in the next shocking videos. The apocalypse doesn't begin with a huge explosion from an asteroid or a frenzied volcanic eruption. It is quietly unfolding in every breath of the planet. A brutal biological crisis will shatter the entire self-regulating system that has nurtured life for the next 500 to 800 million years. Earth will destroy itself through the collapse of a massive thermal machine known as the Carbon-Silicate cycle. This mechanism operates through 4 brutal and precise stages. First, gigantic volcanic vents erupt, releasing CO2 into the atmosphere. This gas immediately combines with water vapor to form carbonic acid, which pours down to the ground as intense chemical rains. Then, this acid attacks and erodes the silicate rocks of Earth's crust, releasing calcium ions and bicarbonate that flow straight into the oceans. Finally, marine organisms absorb them to build calcium carbonate shells, and when they die, they sink to the ocean floor, drawn into the Earth's depths to await their rebirth through volcanic vents. However, this fragile balance will be shattered by the very source of light that illuminates us, the sun. As the core of this star becomes denser, nuclear reactions inside it will accelerate wildly. Every 100 million years, the sun's brightness increases by 1%. This enhanced heat will stimulate chemical reactions between acid rains and rocks at an uncontrollable speed. The weathering process will become brutal, depleting CO2 from the atmosphere much faster than volcanoes can replenish it. CO2 levels will plummet uncontrollably, plunging the planet into an extreme atmospheric starvation state. This decline will directly lead to a global plant massacre. Plants, which rely on CO2 for photosynthesis, will face energy bankruptcy as the concentration of this gas drops to critically low levels. About 500 million years from now, the entire group of C3 plants, including trees, wheat, and rice, will die off as CO2 levels drop below 150 parts per million. Lush forests will turn into dry, silent graveyards. Although a small group of C4 plants, such as grasses and corn, may survive a little longer thanks to their ability to utilize CO2 more efficiently, they will also completely perish by the 800 million year mark, when CO2 levels reach just 10 parts per million. The disappearance of plants will trigger a devastating chain collapse. The food sources for herbivores will be wiped out, leading to the immediate extinction of carnivores. Even more terrifying, with no photosynthesis process, oxygen levels in the atmosphere will plummet disastrously, turning Earth into a suffocating tomb for any remaining creatures. The entire ecosystem as we know it will be completely erased by a ruthless law of chemistry and physics. The blue planet will become a silent mass of rock. The nightmare begins when the sun increases its brightness by 10%, directly pushing the average surface temperature above 50 degrees Celsius. This intense heat will directly assault the oceans, causing seawater to evaporate wildly. This vapor layer will not dissipate, but will become a deadly heat trap, triggering an uncontrollable greenhouse effect. The temperature will rise uncontrollably, pushing Earth into a state similar to that of Venus today, where every surface is melted by extreme heat. The devastation escalates as all the water on the surface will completely evaporate within the next 1 to 1.5 billion years. The ocean floor will be nothing more than dry, cracked basins, white with salt. Even more dangerously, the lack of water will eliminate the essential lubrication between the tectonic plates. Earth will become a motionless, silent, and lifeless block of rock beneath the blazing sunlight. All hope for life will be incinerated under the pressure and heat of a planet that has lost its final protective layer. The world map will no longer have boundaries between land and sea, but will instead be a desolate wasteland, heated to the point of destroying all organic structures.